Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's event. This is the Bincom ICT Career Talk. Today, we have some speakers joining us to discuss the topic of today. And today's theme will be switching to tech plus switching fields in tech. Right. So, our first guest speaker is Mr. Shola Ayuade, and a brief about his profile. He is an enterprise sales manager, a tech enthusiast, blockchain evangelist, and a growth hacker. He is a dynamic and innovative sales professional with several years of experience in selling, business development, product management, and supporting of diverse teams and networks, ranging from small, medium, to large. I would like everyone to make welcome Mr. Shola Ayadu. Mr. Shola, are you with us? Hello, sir. You're muted if you're trying to speak.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Shola.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this session.
You're welcome.
So, are we good to go?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, Nika, how are you today?
Fine, good afternoon, sir.
All right, good afternoon. Okay, so we would start with a brief introduction. I'm Shola Ayuade. He's giving you some introduction about me. Been in the IT industry for about 15 years. So I've seen lots of evolution and changes in the IT space. Also, we could do a quick introductions on the audience. I would like to briefly know what you do. Are you already in IT space, or you're considering entry into the IT industry? Briefly, everyone. Comfort.
Okay.
Econ.
Okay. Can I go first?
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Okocha. I'm a project assistant at Bincom Tech Center. So I would say I'm already in the tech field. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Comfort, IT project manager to be precise.
Okay. Ijoma, Obafemi, Patrick. But if you're in a noisy place, I mean, don't bother. Okay, so I'll just go to my slides while I wait for. Okay, Ijoma, go ahead. You're what? Oh, I didn't get that. Okay. If you can type in the chats So I'll go ahead to my presentation. Everyone should type in the chats what you do as of today. If you're already in IT space or you're considering joining the IT space. Okay. Michael, are you ready for my presentation?
Yes, please go.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead to present. Okay.
Is everything in order, sir? All right.
Yes, I'm presenting already.
All right.
So can you see my presentation?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, okay.
Can every other person see it?
Okay, I can see Priska entry level. I can see Patrick, backend developer. Okay, I'll do backend developer. Ekong, entry level backend engineer, crypto, interesting. So you'll be looking at solidity and other things. Okay, so thank you everyone. So I'll just proceed. So switching to tech and switching fields in tech. So Michael, just call my attention whenever you can hear me properly. So I'll start with my story. I switched to tech and I switched fields within tech on several locations, you know. So tech is such an interesting space, and your enthusiasm is more important than any other thing, you know, and your patience actually, you know. I'll tell you, 15 years ago in Nigeria, if you say you were a developer, we could actually tell your financial status. You are likely to be broke or average, you know, except you work with a very big organization at that time. So it's not your skill, maybe the strength of the organization you worked for, you know, but over the years, things have changed. So for example, I studied mining engineering in the university, and I left the university about 20 years ago, you know, and I never worked as a mining engineer, you know, I worked as an IT person from day one. Okay, so I'll start with switching to tech. Switching to tech is something that we would see more of it than ever before in more recent times. So like Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You know, it's whatever you envision that's possible. So if you think it's possible, then great. If you think it's not possible, you're right, because tech may not be meant for you. You know, so that's the beauty about switching to tech. So I switched to tech 2006, shortly before I left school. I was done with my thesis on campus, and I was introduced to CCNA at that point, Cisco Technologies, you know, and I got reading without even seeing what a router was, but I was excited about it. I was interested in it. You know, I got reading and preparing for the exam, which I took before service year, you know, and that even determined where I served. I eventually served in a tech institute. So maybe a few of us here may know that institute, AfriHub. AfriHub used to be inside UNN, you know, and the AfriHub used to be the organization that organizes ICT courses for UNN way back. You know, then later on, UNN started taking the courses themselves. Okay, so this is the history of how I joined tech. You know, haven't had so much interest in IT. I started with a CCNA, which was like network fundamentals, you know, and after network fundamentals, I decided to proceed in that direction, you know, until I got a job that was in that direction. So many times I get alarmed when people say, when I ask some people, what are your plans? I'm looking for a job. In what space? Oh, any job. then I'm alarmed. You can't be looking for any job. You should be proactive enough to go in a direction. Then the job that you need will meet you in that direction. That's my ideology about life. So when you're done with school or you're considering IT, then you should sit down and evaluate what area of IT are you excited about? What's your approach? What's your roadmap? What's your strategy to becoming that? Because for me, the biggest IT people and IT personnel I've seen, the most motivational I've seen are people that never studied computer science in school, and then somehow there's this compensation theory, that compensation theory is what makes people that have a poor eyesight or don't even have sight at all, make extreme use of their hearing capacity. So that compensation theory is what some people bring into IT space, knowing that they don't have an IT degree, computer science, electrical electronics, as the case may be. So they begin to take courses to prove their ability in that space. Because no employer wants trial by error. They want you to prove your ability in a space before they give you an opportunity. So what's your driver? Determine what you want out of an information technology career. What's your driver? What's your interest? Or is it about money? Or is it about the statistics that says we'll also be in shortage of data scientists or cybersecurity specialists or IT specialists? It could be any of them, but make sure you have the right driver, because your driver will determine if you'll be patient and if you'll be persistent. So someday, I had a cousin that was considering the cost to study in the university, and there was lots of conversation. I wasn't there, but I was told by my siblings that they were discussing, people that read that course don't make money. And I was like, there's something wrong with that conversation, because yes, you hear people say, I'm going after my passion. Yes, go after your passion, but make sure your passion solves the problem. So, because if you're solving the problem in the society, then of course you'll be valuable. So it's not just about your passion. Your passion must also be fixing the friction. So if your passion is fixing the friction, then you're sure of your value in the marketplace. So determine what you want out of an information technology career. Also understand that an information technology career may make you open your laptop when you are not at work. And the definition of being at work has even changed with the remote work, because many of us now work from home. So being at work is becoming something people may not understand as time goes on. Working is what people will understand. I work and this is what I do. But waking up in the morning to step out of your house to go to a location, that's no more work. COVID has showed us that work is beyond going to a location. Work is not tied to a location. Work is tied to what you do, irrespective of the location, the country, and the time that you choose to do it. So you must determine what you want out of information technology. Michael, please let me know when it's 10 minutes or 5 minutes to the end of my time. So also pick a role that aligns with what you want. What role aligns with what you want? You must pick a role that aligns with what you want. There are several roles in the IT space. And just like I said earlier on, that I switched into tech and I switched roles within tech. So I started as a system engineer or as a support engineer, moved on to be a solution architect, then moved on to become a pre-sales engineer. So pre-sales engineer do more of client facing, so you must know if you're interested in the back end role or you want a client facing role. And some of these are tied to your personality, So if you are the type that is timid and don't want to do anything about it, you're introvert and don't want to do anything about it, You may want to stay away from the roles that make you client facing. However, those roles are very rewarding. The roles that make you client facing, like project managers in some cases make you client facing, definitely. And just like I said, work doesn't have to be physical anymore. It can be remote. So, I mean, it helps you in a way. So if you're timid and it's a remote role, then maybe because they're not seeing your face, you may have some more confidence. So you must really know what you want and be ready to go after what you want as far as the role that you're picking is concerned. So there are so many roles. I could just touch on that briefly. This is like an old career path, a schema that shows you different areas and paths. However, lots of advancement has been made to this because if you look towards the extreme end to the right, if it's visible, you see system developer, which are what you call software developers, the database administrators, software application engineers, computer programmers. Looks like a very old word, right? So the more recent words, are like data science, data scientists, so application analysts, I think that's still being used. Computer security specialists, there's been lots of tweak to that. You begin to find penetration testers. You begin to find hackers, black belts, So you begin to find all these terminologies, being changed from time to time. IT project manager, still very relevant, still in use. Network engineers, so a whole lot of roles, are possible, and you find lots of product manager more recently, because there are more software solutions being rolled out because the world is moving towards the direction of a platform. So platform everywhere, and what I mean by platform is a business that brings people together, like Uber, so just get a taxi, go to the platform, LinkedIn is kind of the platform as well, where we just go to check your, verify your academic qualification, where it's just archived. I think there's something that LinkedIn need to do in the future, give recruiters visibility into when last you modified your LinkedIn profile and give us an history of what it was looking like 5 years ago. So we know people that were never project engineers or project managers that have modified their role, to show project managers yesterday. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Maybe that functionality will come up someday, where LinkedIn will say, we can show you someone's profile, what it looked like 10 years ago. That's going to cause lots of problems. Because some people that are relocated to Canada suddenly begin to see that some of them have different roles on their profile, which was not the role we knew them with in Nigeria. So they had to tweak their LinkedIn profile for a reason, So talk to people who have the job you want or who have gone the direction you've gone. So when I decided I wanted to go IT direction, I spoke to someone, that was going in that direction. He gave me materials, gave me encouragement, showed me how to go about this stuff. Because sometimes the mistake people make sometimes is just to take lots of money and go pay for an IT course that they're not ready for. Or just go to start a data science master's and the person is not ready for it. Then he gets into the course and discover it needs to have understanding of R, understanding of Python, and he's not even started at all. So he gets stuck in the middle of the program because he wasn't ready. The prerequisite for that program, he didn't have it, So conversing with people, talking to people that have gone through that same process, joining a community would give you some insights into how to go about what you really want to become. So that's some wisdom. Talk to people that have gone in that direction and that are making progress in that direction. A little bit of digression. I'll also talk about a colleague about over 10 years ago. She applied as network engineer, which was what most of us applied for more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago. we applied for network engineer because then it was just, probably do your CompTIA, or do your CCNA, then you say you're ready for an IT role, And many of us just applied for network engineer, which she did, but the company hired her as a project manager. So you can imagine 14 years ago, the role of project manager was not a very known role that people go after. In fact, you would find that there was no university in Nigeria offering the course project manager 15 years ago. If any university offers the course project manager in Nigeria, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, abroad, maybe 20 years ago. So she was offered a project manager job. She was not excited, but she applied to WECO and they offered her project manager. She applied to Computer Warehouse and they gave her the same role, project manager. So she said, maybe this is a way God is leading me to go do project management. So she went for it. And today she's doing very well. She's a project director with Schneider, doing very well. So that's how people find themselves on some roles. Whereas, don't forget, I told you the proactive way to go about the role you're interested in is to go take a certification in that direction, go look for an intern experience in that direction, look for mentors in that direction, apply for such roles, look for an intern role or an entry-level role in that direction. And that's when age is on your side anyway. So because there are people that switch careers when they are much older, in their 40s, in their 50s. That may be very tough in Africa, but it's done outside Africa, and it works. In the UK or in the US, people still switch roles in their 40s and their 50s. In Nigeria, it can be quite absurd. I'm not sure Michael was going to profile some guy that is a data analyst that comes for interview and is age 50 and is an entry-level guy. I'm not sure you're profiling for the next stage of the interview. So there's discrimination in Africa. So if you still have your plans to relocate, it's good. Change role anytime. You can change and switch careers anytime. That society has lots of opportunities. Most of those societies have lots of opportunities and they can consider someone that is advanced in age. This society, Nigeria, may not be very friendly with people that have advanced in age, but it's still possible. Nothing is impossible. Okay, so other things, consider getting a mentor. I think I mentioned that. Consider getting a mentor. Research the training you need to compare and compare training options. So before you make up your mind that you're going to NIT or any other training institute, AfriHub I mentioned in the past, I don't know if they still exist. Before you make up your mind, compare options. And it's even easier now for software developers. There are boot camps coming up around Nigeria and around the world that won't even take a penny from you. We'll train you until you get a job, then they sign a pact with you to take a part of your payments for the next 1 year or 2 years. So there's no excuse for anyone to lack training or to be unable to access training as of today. You don't have that excuse. No one has that excuse. You can train yourself on Coursera, on Udemy. You can train yourself on Udacity. And some big organizations of the world have even dropped having a degree as a prerequisite for getting a job. More consider a first degree to offer people jobs. So nothing is a barrier to switching to tech or switching fields within tech. Even not having a first degree is not a barrier. Because there are top organizations in the world now that have removed BSc or BEng, whatever the case, whatever you call it, as a requirement for getting a job. And it's increasing in Nigeria as well. That skill is what employers are after. And if you're considering starting your own business, skill, okay, I've seen that, 10 minutes more. And if you're considering starting your own business, skill remains paramount and king. Soft skill, hard skill. And, you know, you're going to need soft skill for some areas of IT, you know, and for all areas of IT, actually, you need soft skills, you know, whether you're a manager managing a team or you're a sales person. So like I told you, I've switched roles from being a full techie that doesn't interact with the customer to being pre-sales engineer. What a pre-sales engineer does is a pre-sales engineer sells technically to the person that can consume technical content and business content within a business. So when you sell, you know, you don't only sell to the user, you sell to the business, you sell to different aspects of the business. You know, so for example, a salesperson that wants to sell a software solution that would do IT or that would manage payroll or automate HR within a business, it's not going to sell to the head of IT. You will have to sell to the head of human resources. You have to sell to the human resources department, or you have to sell to the head of operations, or you have to sell to the chief operating officer. You know, so selling involves lots of understanding, involves skill, involves knowing who the decision makers are, knowing who your influencers are. You know, so you must be able to differentiate, identify who the influencers are, who the decision makers are within every business, you know, and know what it takes to close the deal. Okay, so for some people, the field they are interested in may not require getting an expensive training. Some of them are achievable by training yourself online, even though I know that it requires lots of, discipline. To train yourself requires lots of discipline and lots of drive, you know. However, it's achievable. It's possible for you to train yourself, you know. It requires discipline and drive. So get hands-on experience so you can volunteer, find your friends that already work somewhere, volunteer to work there, volunteer to work for free if possible. Yes, when you are young, that's the best time to make all these moves. Volunteer to work for free. Ask them that you want to be an intern. And if they say they have no payments or no payment plan for interns, yes, choose to do it, even if it requires doing it for free. And you may as well use the reputation of being an intern in that company to get another job. Are we together? Okay, so choose to intern, choose to volunteer, you know. You can choose to work for free, you know. And when you do this, you give yourself visibility, because your visibility is important. You know, whoever would hire you needs to consider you as someone that will add value to the business. You know, and if you're going into having a startup, you also require some skill to have a startup. A skill you acquire from experience working with different companies, or if you are a genius, you could spin up a business by having a skill, coming up with an app that no one has envisioned, and being ready to drive that app to see it work. You know, however, I encourage people to work for a while, because I've seen the value of work. The value of work is experience. For example, the person that started WebEx, that started Zoom, worked with WebEx. WebEx was a startup that was bought over by Cisco years ago. WebEx is like Zoom. So the founder of Zoom worked with WebEx, worked with Cisco before he went on to start Zoom. Working with Cisco, he saw the value in conferencing, and he saw that there was a gold mine in there. Are we together? So also, the owner of Oracle worked somewhere and named the project he was overseeing Oracle before he eventually started his business. So there is a value in work, but make sure you're working in a place that can add value to your journey. Not planning to be an IT specialist and you're working in ShopRite as a cashier or working in the bank as a cashier. Quit that job. If you are young and you don't have dependencies, people dependent on you, quit that job. Go get an intern job in an IT environment or ask ShopRite to make you a IT support. Ask the bank to make you IT support and slash your salary. They know how desperate you want it. And you may find good people that say, oh, why should we slash your salary? We know the amount we pay you is not big enough. So you must be desperate about it and make sure it's what you want. Don't forget I said you must be patient. When I started IT, there was lots of patience. I had worked in a company that owed me for 5-6 months in the past. You don't need to desire such experiences, but when you're patient and you're going in a direction, you may encounter such experiences. But you must be resilient. I had a colleague then that was focused on being in IT. His parents had some influence to get him an IT job. Sorry, to get him a bank job. But he told his parents that he wanted an IT job. And they told him, we cannot guarantee that you will get an IT job in the bank, but we can guarantee that you will come in as a fresher in the bank, to IT. So he said he was not interested, that he wanted to be an IT guy. So he remained in the IT company he was until he got a better job. Today he works with Vodacom and he's fulfilled. He's happy with his journey. He's not under pressure to relocate to Canada. He's enjoying Nigeria. Yes, some people are under pressure to relocate because somehow they feel they'll get better opportunity over there. There's nothing wrong with that, you know, but I believe if you're successful in Nigeria, you can be successful anywhere in the world. And you can be successful in Nigeria working for a Canadian firm without leaving Nigeria. It's your decision. So you don't always have to leave your country. So, information technology career showed you this that thing. Now, added in that you have you trust.
Sorry, sir, you're breaking. We can't hear you clearly. I think your network is poor. Hello, Mr. Shola, are you still with us?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Oh. Hello, am I still on?
Yes, you are on.
Mr. Shola. Okay, so I guess Mr. Shola is gone because his network was a bit cranky for a moment there. So thank you so much, Mr. Shola, for that presentation. I've learned a thing or two on my own parts, and I believe everyone. So we'll have time for questions, but that will be after the other speaker has spoken. So if you have questions, either for Mr. Shola or for the next person that will speak, please, you can jot them down, or you can drop the question here to read them out at the end of presentations. Thank you. So for our next speaker, She is a cloud engineer at Microsoft. It published on she is Adora Modo. Please make welcome Miss Adora Modo. Are you here with us, Adora?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Sorry, can you please put on your camera if that would be convenient for you?
I cannot at the moment, unfortunately. So I'll just go ahead to share my screen and then we can get right into this. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay. So yeah, so let's get right into this. Let's get right into this. I'm going to be talking about making a career switch into tech, and I hope that this is useful for the people that are, part of this webinar at the moment. I hope that whatever it is that I'm going to talk to you about is something that's going to be useful to you. I've seen a bunch of people make career switches back and forth, and I really hope that in a way, this can be useful. But before I go right into, how that can work for you and what you can do and all of that stuff, I would quickly want to introduce myself. My name is Adora, and I am a cloud engineer at Microsoft. I spend a lot of my time building mixed reality technology on the cloud at Microsoft. That's what I do. So that entails, apologies for that. That entails software engineering. So I write some code sometime. I also sometimes do infrastructure engineering. I wear a bunch of hats. So I do cloud security once in a while as well. So I just put myself under the cloud engineering term because depending on exactly what I'm working on, I might be required to wear multiple hats and do things that involve various skill sets. Apart from that, I am also a digital creator. So I create courses, I create digital things, I create courses, I create YouTube videos, I write articles, different things that I hope help people learn techie things and makes people's journey into tech easier. I'm a published author as well. Recently, I wrote a book called Cloud Engineering for Beginners. It's a book that I would advise that anybody that wants to get into cloud computing to get. So if you're looking to start like a career in cloud engineering or cloud computing, it's a book that I would totally recommend. And a bunch of people would recommend as well. So if you don't take my word for it, you might take somebody else's word for it. And I am popularly known on Twitter as Adora Modo. So if you check me out on Twitter, then you would find a bunch of things that I do, and then you can connect with me there and stuff like that. I want to quickly talk about this before I jump right into the main talk, because I feel like this is important going forward. I recently joined something called SuperPeer. So this is how you can find me on SuperPeer in case you are trying to, talk about your career, review your resume, or get ready for your interview in tech, your software engineering interview, and maybe you want to get advice for interviewing, or you want to get someone to do a mock interview with and stuff like that. I have been interviewed before, and I have also interviewed people before. So I believe that I will bring a great perspective. And if you want to reach out to me after this talk for follow-up questions or anything, you should definitely check this out and reach out to me there. So now let's start. This tweet, it's funny how I have referenced this tweet in like a bunch of articles that I have written, because this tweet for me has a lot of truth in it for a lot of people. We know how poor a country Nigeria is. We know, let's not pretend that we don't know how many people that tech has actually, in quotes, saved their lives in one way or another. I know that when Prosper was, talking about this tweet, he said writing code actually changes your life. But let's be honest, apart from writing code, there's so many other fields in tech that change your life. If you were maybe doing something in bank before, and then you move from doing that thing in the bank to doing that thing in a startup, and your salary, 10x's or whatever, and then you get stuck, and then maybe later on, the company maybe you get it in a remote startup, and later on the company goes public, you can sell your stock, and then now, boom, you have money. So this is something that tech has created wealth for a lot of people recently, home and abroad, to be honest. You see tweets of a white person or a black person that said they had a lot of student loan debts, but since they switched to tech in their late 30s, they've been able to get a salary that was way more than what they had before. And now they've been able to pay off 80% of their student loans, and they're excited about that. I mean, and this tweet reads here, tech actually changes your life. Today, you can't afford an Uber ride because you're figuring out what JavaScript is. Tomorrow, you can fly to anywhere in the world, pay for 2 more folks to join you, and your bank account won't shake. And well, we've seen it happen in multiple cases where we've seen people, buy fancy cars, do nice things, get a lot of property, home and abroad, real estate, and they are all doing tech things. And it's interesting. So if you are not motivated by, the passion to build and the excitement and the impact you make in the world from the things that you create, it might be money that motivates you, whatever it is, to be honest, whatever motivations you have to join the tech is totally valid. And I just want to let you know, like it shows here, if you're a tech person, right, it's not by force to be a dev. And even if you were a dev, there's so many kinds of dev you can be, because I get this a lot where people are always like, okay, I want to switch to tech, but I don't like programming. So maybe I'm just not going to switch. Tech is like every other industry: oil and gas, finance, real estate, education, whatever it is, you name it, legal, blah, 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 blah. We need legal people to exist in law firms. We also need legal people to exist in real estate, and we need legal people to exist in tech, right? We need finance people to exist in finance industries. We need finance people to exist in real estate. We need finance people to exist in education, in schools. We need finance people to exist in tech. Same way, we need tech people to exist in the tech industry, and tech people can also exist in multiple other industries. What does this mean? If you are trying to be a tech person, especially for people that are trying to transition, that probably have careers already, except you are maybe trying to move from banking to programming, that's like a whole different paradigm shifts, and then you might need to pick up a bunch of new skills. But if you're trying to move from, let's say, sales in real estate to sales in tech, you are still selling. You are just now selling a different product. So all you might need to do at that point to switch tech careers is just switch companies. You were working in a non-tech before, and now you're working in a tech company. And I've seen lots of people do that, where they even make their tech switch by coming into tech companies through non-conventional careers. Like, I don't know how many people know Ibukun here. I don't remember her surname, so I'm not trying to even say it, so I don't murder it. But Ibukun got into tech by being, I think, an EA for one of all these popular tech CEOs. And then from there, she got into the business side of tech. And now she has, been a PM at like, top tech startups. And now she's currently getting an MBA in Madrid, I think, in Spain. So there's so many other ways that you can get into tech. Whether you want to, maybe you studied psychology, you want to come in as a UX researcher. Maybe in school you studied business and then you want to do the business side of tech, or you want to come in as a salesperson or a growth person, different kinds of things. Or maybe you studied mathematics or computer science and you want to learn to code. Like, there are many things that you can do. So you don't have to limit yourself to one thing. And the funny thing is, even if you start doing one thing, so you enter the company as a product manager, right? Maybe because you have some business sense, you've taken a bunch of leadership courses, you know product management for the basics of what it is. And then when you come into tech, you understand tech products, and then the next thing you know, you are like a 10x product manager. After a while, you might decide that, well, you want to do growth, you want to become a marketer, you want to be a growth marketer, still in tech, in the context of tech. Or you like product design and you want to try that for a bit. Nobody's stopping you, because you're already in the company. It's always going to be easy to make that move when you get there. And I've said a lot of these things. I have sort of rambled as well. And I just want to tell you that a lot of people think that, getting into tech is confusing and might be a bit too much or whatever. The truth is, it is relative. And a lot of times, something that is confusing to you, to be honest, might just not be for you. So you might need to look inward and figure out exactly what works for you, because it would require work, but you should like that work. You should be excited about that work, because if you are not, it is not sustainable. A few months down the line, no matter how much you're collecting, you might not really like that fulfillment that you get. And I'm talking about it from the perspective of the path that you choose. I know a lot of times on social media, we see people 23x their income, 40x their income, 10x their income. And we're like, God, when is this going to be my story? That is fantastic. That's great. But the fact that the person 23x their income as a product designer doesn't necessarily mean you have to do the same thing. So you can 23x your income as a product manager. You can 23x your income as a growth marketer. You can 23x your income as a software developer. It really just depends. And I really want to emphasize that. And if you really choose something that you like to do, what you would actually find out is that although that requires work, because like I said, everything in life requires work, it is not going to be something that is confusing and stressful and something that you need to drag your leg for and something that you hate, that you're just motivated to do because you know the money is going to be huge. And today I'm going to be talking about 4 phases to your transition. Transitioning into a tech career can happen in these 4 phases. So you crawl, then you walk, then you run, then you fly. And I'm going to be talking about these 4 phases. And now let's talk about the crawling phase. So, because like in life, and I don't know whether it has to do with the impatience thing of the fact that, this thing has to happen now because nothing is working. And if this thing doesn't happen now, nothing. I feel it's important to crawl first before you walk and then start running and then start flying. Even airplanes taxi first before they actually take off. And when they land, they taxi before they finally come to a stop. These things are important in terms of your growth. It's important all that is important is for you to know that when you were 2 months ago in your journey, in your learning, in your growth, in your career, is not where you are now. Keep tracking that growth and keep striving to be better. So taking phases from crawling to walking to running to flying doesn't mean that you are not moving. Just want to point that out because this thing requires, patience, requires tenacity. It requires you to actually do the work. It requires a lot from you. So you just need to put your head down and make sure that you are doing what it takes to get there. It is something that you're totally interested in. So the first thing I'll talk about is crawling. And obviously, like babies, right, is the beginning of everything. Before you walk, before you run, before you start to think about flying, before you move a car, you're going to start the engine. Before babies walk, they crawl first and they fall multiple times. So this is basically your first stage. And this is you as an absolute newbie that you have made your decision to be a developer or be a product manager or be a techie in general. And this would most likely be the first few months of your journey. And the first most important thing in this stage is research. And I'm saying this because a lot of times people are in fields they are not supposed to be in because other people told them about those fields and then they just decided to go for it. If you get what I mean, or they got pushed into it because their friend was doing it or something. But that's not necessarily who they are, and they're not in a field that necessarily fits their skill sets and their persona. Looking at me, the kind of person that I am, I would never, well, let me never say never because people evolve, but at this current stage in my life, I am not a product designer. It does not interest me in any way. So no matter how many people talk about product design, how to get into product design and all of that, because I have done my research and I know what each tech field entails, you will just never see me there. However, product design might be fantastic for the next person. So it's important to do your research, know the different kinds of tech fields that exist, and know what they entail. And this is very possible to do because you have access to the internet. So you can literally just go on Google and type types of tech fields or different fields in tech. I wrote an article with Sultan a long time ago, I think in 2018, about this, and it's published. It's on the internet somewhere, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one. So if you go online, you find a lot of different tech fields that exist, what they entail in full detail, and then even if you can't make a concrete decision, you would shortlist a few fields, and a lot of times these fields might be fields that are interchangeable, and these fields might be fields that have transferable skills. For example, I've still not made up my mind on what I want to do, but I've gone to do research and I look at back-end engineering, I look at DevOps, and I look at site reliability engineering, and I'm like, I don't know the one I want to choose, but these three look interesting. So let me optimize growth in my tech career for these three. The truth is, and maybe what might now define what you might end up being is the one that gives you a job first or whatever. The truth is, based on what you like and the kind of things you like to do, you are someone that likes to support people. You are someone that likes to be the one in the back, doing all the things that makes the front work, providing all the support, doing all the, I don't want to use the word heavy lifting because everybody does heavy lifting, but, doing all the background work. You like being that person in charge of all those things on that G. You like being that person. So you're like, okay, backend doesn't seem bad, DevOps doesn't seem bad, SRE doesn't seem bad. And then you go and say that this is what you want to learn, and then you commit to learning that. And what happens is that even if you end up being a backend engineer, you might do some DevOps stuff at your job. If you end up being a DevOps engineer, you might do some SRE things on your job and vice versa. But at least the path that you chose to go, even if you didn't choose a direct path because you couldn't make one decision, is a path where skills are transferable. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, even if you're not able to, after your research, choose one thing you want to do, but you can choose 3 or 4 or 2, what you would notice is that those things that you choose are things that will kind of be similar and always have transferable skills. You want to work in gaming and you also want to work in VR. Those skills are transferable when you think about it. They require the same things: working in these game engines, working with a lot of graphics, knowing physics. So at the end of the day, you would notice that there is a pattern. So that's why it's important to do that foundational thing first before anything else. And what you do after your research is to prepare a plan, right? It's important to play the long game. Even if you look, I don't know how many people have read this book, 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. I think the second habit is beginning with the end in mind, because it is something that is important. We're not expected to live our whole lives, even if some things, yes, are subject to chance, because life is just what it is. Even when you're making a budget, you don't make strict budgets, you add miscellaneous, but you have a budget. 100% of your budget is not miscellaneous, right? 100% of your life is not vibes. Same way 100% of your career plans or trajectory shouldn't be vibes as well. So what you need to do is sit down and actually prepare a plan. And one thing I've noticed that if you have a plan, it's always good to, those things you're itemizing on your plan, time box them, because it helps you track yourself. Like, okay, am I on course for this thing I wanted to do? So I said I wanted to sign up to some communities around me before March. It's February. Have I done anything? Have I even researched communities around me? Do I know anyone? Okay, I said I wanted to take Udemy courses on web development by August. Have I started raising the money? Or even if I can't do Udemy courses because I can't afford it, have I gone to go and check other places that have cheaper courses that are still of high quality? I want to build 3 web projects before the end of the year. Am I working on it? Have I opened a GitHub account? When you are able to time box things and itemize them, you can properly now track your progress on each thing that you've done. And by then, maybe by the end of the year or by the end of the time frame, you can now look at it and be like, okay, some of these things on the list I did, I finally crossed them off my list. I did well in trying to become a software engineer or a tech person. I'm going to be using a lot of software engineering references here because I am a software engineer, not a designer, not a PM. So I just hope that you can relate with this. At the end of the day, it's the fundamental message that I'm trying to pass across that matters. Ignore the different things I'm using to pass that message across and just take away the message. So I said I wanted to apply for a tech internship by next year. Have I started revamping my CV and doing things that will make me look job worthy when it's time? It helps you just track and you know yourself. So once you've been able to do these things, do your research and then, create a plan for yourself in how you want to move forward. You can now start thinking about working. And a worker is someone that is ready to learn. Learning is a very fundamental part of this stage. So now, you're not doing the big boy things yet. You're not running, you're not flying. But you're taking small steps, tiny steps. And this is important. And at this point, you need to make very good use of the internet in learning the fundamentals. Because I'm going to use real estate as an example. You are building a house, right? If you lay a very terrible foundation for that house, no matter how beautiful that house is, anybody that lives there is going to be angry. At some point, the house could even sink. So if every time somebody comes and is like, oh, there's something wrong with this house, let's go and change the AC. There's something wrong with this house. Okay, this kitchen, the part of this kitchen is sinking. Or yeah, let's bring cement and let's cover something here and let's repaint it. It's going to keep sinking no matter how many times you patch it. The best way to fix that problem, unfortunately, would be to redo the foundation of that house. And that's probably going to cost you a lot. So to save yourself that stress from the very beginning, lay the right foundations. If you want to go and learn React, learn the fundamentals of programming first and then learn JavaScript first. And what you find out is that once you're able to learn the fundamentals of programming and once you're able to learn JavaScript, what's going to happen is that it will be easy for you to learn Ember when it's time. It will be easy for you to learn Vue.js when it's time. It wouldn't be a conversation of, it will even be easy for you as a JavaScript engineer to learn Python when it's time because you learn the fundamentals of programming first. I've seen a lot of people go straight into learning Node. And if you tell them to pick up Ruby, they just cannot. So you don't want to be that kind of person. You want to learn the fundamentals of whatever it is that you're doing. And you can do this because the internet is a very big school. There's so many things, good things and bad things, but there's so many things you can learn from the internet if you make good use of it. So as somebody working, take advantage of that. This is that time to do that. Also, as somebody working, as you are learning, this is the phase to start doing some of the things, making connections, because these people expose you to opportunities. You can learn from them. You can get opportunities for top jobs from them and different things. Connections could be your peers. It could also be reaching out to people to be your mentors, any kind of connection at all. Joining a community is very active, is also a very good thing to do in this stage, because it gives you access to people, which also ties back into connecting. Working on side projects while you learn, it builds your experience. It prepares you for the real world. It's like that thing where when you are in school, you are doing an internship before you graduate, and then you have to go into the real world and start doing real work, right? It's like that thing where when you are a child, as someone that likes to ride a bike, they give you the bicycle and put 2 extra wheels on the side. And then once they feel like you are ready to take on life head on, they remove those 2 extra wheels, and then you are riding the bicycle normally because you no longer need that support. So working on side projects is supporting your learning in some way until you now finally get that job that puts you in the real world and your life can now become on autopilot. Building soft skills are also something that's very important. I see a lot of people focusing on the hard skills. Okay, so I'm a PM, so I need to know PM related things. I'm a dev, so I need to learn programming. I'm a DevOps person, so I need to learn how to use AWS and Azure. But if you don't have good communication, if you are not a good team player, if you don't know if you don't have proper people management skills, if you are not someone that is thinking about, because at the end of the day, you're going to be in an office environment, and interdependence is important because you can't do everything by yourself. If you are not someone that has the mindset of like these particular things, you will find out that they are promoting a lot of your mates and they're not promoting you. Because they just feel like you are a very good fit for this role where you currently are, the engineer that knows how to write all the code. But this next level requires you to have some skills that you currently don't possess. So we can't promote you there. So what's important is that when you are learning tech, you also learn to build these soft skills, because even beyond your career, these are skills that would help you live a well-balanced life. Another final thing I want to say is that you should start to document your journey somehow. There are some people that write, there's some people that do tech podcasts, there's some people that speak like I'm doing now. Whatever it is, even if you are not one of those public people, teaching somebody, even in your office, writing, like any way that you're able to document your journey and then use that thing that you have learned to impact someone else's life goes a long way. Because apart from the impact you make, you are also sure that you understand what you are learning because you are able to articulate it and teach somebody else. And while you are doing all these things as somebody that is supposed to be working, it's safe to say that you can now start running. And if you are now running, what this means is that you are that plane that has left land. You are no longer taxiing. You've left land. You are now in the clouds. Or rather, maybe not in the clouds just yet, but you've left land and you are currently going up. You are ready to start your career. You've left land. That's what happens. And as a runner, what this means is that you are ready to start your career. And what this means is that you can now start applying to jobs as if you currently don't have one. And you should be looking at learning more at your office, learning more at your job, still building your career, because the day you stop learning is the day you start dying, right? So it's important to, at every single stage of your life, keep trying to learn, upskill, build more experience and things like that. So you're applying to jobs, or you have a job now, you are learning more, you are working somewhere. Let's say you are working as a program manager, or you are working as a junior software engineer, or you're working as a product designer. While you're doing that, you are still learning more things about engineering because you can never really know it all. You're learning more things about program management, you're learning about design, and you are teaching people. And you are also still selling yourself because it's not a thing of humility and pride. If you don't put yourself out there, nobody's going to see you. And if there's an opportunity, your name or your brand wouldn't come to anybody's mind because they don't know who you are. They don't know that you exist. Even at the office, when you do things, you should sell yourself to your peers, to your manager. Now, I'm not even only talking about social media selling that a lot of developers do, but even within your organization, sell yourself to people so that they can be very familiar with your skill sets. And if there's any opportunity within the office, you could be voluntold for it. So that's also an important thing when it comes to running. And once you're able to do that, now it's like, okay, what next for me? As someone that is supposed to be flying, you started your career is going well. You're thinking about what the next step in your life is. You're trying to optimize for growth. And now your priorities will now shift because initially it was about how do I get into tech? But now the next thing is, okay, now I am in tech. So how do I keep growing in tech? How does my job title change? How do I keep growing? How does my salary 10x, 20x, 50x, 150x, if that's what you're looking for? How do all these things happen for me? And the truth is, these things come with the kind of value you add to your organization and the recognition you get for it. So it's not only about adding value and making impact, but make sure that when you are adding value, because at the end of the day, we keep telling ourselves, oh, this one, there's politics here. Oh, this one, there's this. I don't know if politics is the problem or it's just a case of human beings being human beings. So just make sure that, like they will say, nobody go run you streets. Make sure that you are not doing work that somebody else is taking credit for. Make sure that the value you are adding, you are also getting recognized for. And you are also learning and trying to build that career as you keep growing. And I hope that as you do that, I wish you luck in your journey to learning how to get into tech. Like I said, you can find me on Super Peer. So if you are willing to take this conversation further, you can definitely find me there and we can have a conversation. Thank you again for listening. And if there's any questions that you have now, I am open to taking them, except we are doing this whole thing where the questions are asked at the end of the webinar, in which case I'm totally fine with that as well.
Thank you so much, Adora, for that presentation. At this point, we take questions. So if you have questions for either of the speakers, this is the time to ask the questions. If there is some.
Okay, I don't know if
Something that's bothering you, maybe you're trying to switch to tech.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I have questions for both speakers. We'll start with the speaker. Please, I would like to ask why you decided to be a cloud engineer.
Me? So why I decided to be a cloud engineer, I think what happened was I was looking for interesting things. And this was during my NYSC, I was already thinking about my life post NYSC, right? I was like, a lot of companies at this time, it was Andela and FinTech. That was literally all that existed here. And when I see myself, I don't see myself in movies. I don't see myself writing money. I don't see myself in Mandela. Like I never really saw myself in any of those things. The way I was thinking about tech at the time. So my plan was actually to go to the US, do a technical master's, go to Silicon Valley and just like be one of these, join one of these companies that are building amazing things and build with them and just start my career from there. But as luck would happen, it was around that time I was making these plans.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know if it's just me.
Can people still hear me?
Barely, I'm struggling. I don't know if there's anybody that can hear you.
Yeah, I think there is an interference.
Can you still hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go on.
There's also somebody, I don't know whether it's the speaker or the microphone, like there's there's something like a fan somewhere or something. So if anybody's microphone is on, please turn it off, because yeah, it's not sounding anymore. Yeah, so I was saying it was around the time that Microsoft, reached out and they said they were coming to Lagos to hire and stuff like that. And then they shared the kind of stuff I would be working on. And it looked like the kind of interesting technology that I was going to go to Silicon Valley for anyway. So it made sense and it just aligned with my plans. And then I chose to do the interviews, and as luck would have it, I got in and I just decided to stay.
Okay, thank you. How was it when you started, and how is it going now?
Sorry, in what context? Because that could mean like multiple things.
Okay, like I don't know how much experience you had in the field when you started, if it was easy or you had some glitches along the way.
I mean, we all have glitches, even when a new CEO gets appointed and has been working in the company for like 20 years. Once you get into a different scenario, like once you get into like a different setting, you are bound to, I don't want to use the word struggle, but like things that you are not familiar with could, in quotes, confuse you for some time. And that's why learning and ramping up is something that is always going to be there, no matter how much of experience that you have. I was already working in tech for a while because I was working as a student, and I was also working in tech during my NYSC year. And before my NYSC year, or rather like, because I didn't go to NYSC immediately I graduated, there was like a 6-month break or something, because you know how Nigeria is always slow with everything. So I was working in tech since like a year before I left school, right until my NYSC year, which was like about 3 years. So I had some level of experience already. However, I got to Microsoft and I still struggled a bit, because even if it was the kind of technology I wanted to work on, I had never worked on it before. When I was working where I was before, I was doing some front-end stuff and I was an Android dev. So now you've removed me from that setting and put me in the setting where I have to do a lot of cloud engineering and do mixed reality stuff. So I did struggle in the beginning. And once in a while, to be honest, I still struggle. But I guess that's what learning and life is all about. You struggle, you learn, you do it, you get to the next thing, and you just keep repeating that cycle.
Okay. Thank you. And you said something about when you stop learning, you start dying, especially in the tech field. So what would you say to someone that is maybe coming from a different field and all the constant learning just seems so tedious?
I don't think that the constant learning is actually serious. I think we make because okay, so there's JavaScript now. I'm going to use JavaScript as an example. JavaScript on its own is a very somehow thing, because it's just too much. And there are lots of JavaScript libraries, frameworks. I remember when, for a while, I remember when Deno came out and everybody was shouting, Deno is going to replace Node, this one. Somebody should answer me, because now where is the Deno? I don't know anybody that is using it. And the thing is, techies would see this kind of thing, and then they will now go and rush to go and learn the Deno while they are still doing their normal jobs that they're supposed to be doing and the other things that they're supposed to be doing. And then they'll be like, oh my God, information overload is too much. So I think just being able to compartmentalize properly, being able to plan yourself, plan your life, and not learn. I'm not saying you should embrace learning, because I mean, I do. I'm currently learning about the blockchain, and I've been singing that thing to my manager's ear since like last year. And now this year, there are some opportunities for me to go and learn blockchain outside of my job. And I've told him that I want to take this opportunity because even if it's not something I actively do in my job, it's something I want to learn. And it's okay with him because I have seen promise in the direction my career wants to go with that technology. So it makes sense for me to learn it. But anybody else coming to bring something that doesn't really concern my path, I wouldn't pick it up because it's really not my business. I can't learn everything. So it's just important to prioritize things and make sure that you are learning the things that can actually help you grow and move forward, not learning everything because everybody is learning it. I don't think that, except maybe you are coming from a field like medicine or law where, you know, what you read in school is basically still what you're doing now, and that is it. And I feel like even in that case, you should choose, and that's why it's important to choose a field that is kind of synonymous with your persona, you know, if that makes sense. Do you get what I mean? So I don't know what that would be for a medicine or law person because I've never been a medicine or law person in my life. I don't know what that would be, but I think the problem stems from the fact that we are not actually doing jobs that we like. So we take the learning as stressful and tedious. Because sometimes you might be learning something and you might be enjoying it if you really were fascinated or if you were learning about it, or if you felt that it was something that contributed to your growth so much. I hope I've answered your question somewhere in there.
Yes, thank you. And I want to ask this question to both speakers. How would you what would you advise a crawler to how would you advise a crawler to do the pressure of all these things? According to what you said, somebody comes online and says 23 times and this person is still crawling, or according to how the first speaker called it, pressure to relocate.
That is a fundamental thing. Nobody can advise. You need to look inward. It is a fundamental thing as well as a self-esteem thing, as well as a knowing who you are thing. Because one thing we need to realize is that nobody's clock or nobody's time zone is the same. Everybody, and it's not even only about 23x pressure, even all around your life, there will be pressure for some things. There's some things that your friends are currently doing now that you don't have capacity to do, right? There are some things that, you know, somebody that you went to nursery school with is doing now in terms of, you know, their finances, their relationships, their social life, like different things. So it's not even only about somebody's tech salary in their tech journey. If you even go and check it, the person that they are 23x their salary. If you now go on their LinkedIn to do a proco, you would find out that maybe the person has been working in tech for like 5 to 7 years. So you that you literally just started and you've been in tech for 5 months, why is your first entry, I'm looking for remote work? Why don't you build that? Remote work is not running away. Do you get what I mean? Why don't you stay, build that expertise, build that skill, build that resilience, build all these things that you need. And then later on, it might not even be a situation of Nadem the Russians because you've built yourself in such a way that people are now even the ones looking for you. But the problem is that a lot of people, like, I did this thing last year where I gave out slots to, like, free slots to people to reach out to me, right? And then talk about their careers. And I remember talking to a guy that was a student and he has no work experience, doesn't really write code yet, doesn't do anything. But he was telling me about how he wants to build startup because everybody's building startup and he finds it interesting. And I'm like, what do you actually, okay, you want to build a startup. What problem have you seen that you want to solve? What exactly do you want to do? I don't know. I just want to build startup and raise. That doesn't make sense to me. And I know that, yes, so there's the social media pressure that adds to it, but I don't think there's any tech advice I can give anybody that can solve this problem. It is an internal problem. So you need to look inward and check yourself, check your self-esteem, check your confidence, check who you are, and understand that everybody in this life is different. So if they are doing their own, congratulations to them. I know I will get there someday, but it's just not my time yet. And that is okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Mr. Olushola, would you like to share, Mr. Shola?
Okay, please come again with the question. I don't think I remember the question.
Okay, I said for a newbie, how would you advise them to deal with the pressure to relocate?
Oh, okay. You mean relocate? You mean career or location?
It was based on what you said that since everybody's relocating to Canada, so you might
Okay. All right, thank you. Adora has spoken very well, and it looks like we're just in the same spirit. So if you look at, like she said, know where you are and know what you're interested in. So, for example, at some point, when I needed to go write my CCIE certification in the US, because that was the only place they were writing at that time in US and in Europe. I tried to get a visa then, and I was turned down. Then all of a sudden, my auntie told me someone is doing very well here. I think you should go talk to him. He's in Nigeria at the moment. So I went to see this dude in Keja, and he told me it's SAP and all of that. So I said, I'm not interested in SAP. I'm a network guy. This was over 15 years ago. So you must really know what you want and what you want to do. Never get carried away by, oh, this is what people are doing now, and this is how people are making it now. If it's not your path, it's not important to you, don't even get involved. So you must know what you're doing and how you want to go about what you want. Nobody ever knows everything, but never be greedy or never look out for what others are doing to determine what you want to do. Let everything you do be a result of what you have envisioned. Just like, don't forget, I started with a slide. Whether you think you can achieve it, it's possible. If you think you can't achieve it, you are also right. You get it. So whatever has not occurred to you that you can achieve, no matter who goes that direction, don't go. If it has not occurred to you that you can achieve it, don't go. No matter how many people are interested in going that way, don't go. So that's the whole thing. You must be something you are motivated and feel you can achieve. And just like Adora said, the person that is excited about the startup and does not know what problem he wants to solve, does not know how these things work, he just needs to get into the system. For example, I'll tell you that occasionally you have very intelligent people. They are genius level people, I call them. And in Nigeria, I could think of a few, like the founder of Andela and a few others. I can call them genius level people. You must know yourself. If you are not on that dimension, don't kill yourself. Don't beat yourself. You get it. Follow your own process. Don't forget I mentioned like Ellison of Oracle had worked somewhere before and saw a database project, named it Oracle, then went ahead to start his own company. Same thing with whoever started Zoom, was part of WebEx. For example, Adora also is in Microsoft. I've also worked with some colleagues in Microsoft in the past, that are running their businesses today and they are doing very well. You get it. They were Microsoft staffs in the past. Today, they have their own startup. And in same Nigeria, they are doing very well. They can't leave Nigeria. It will never occur to them because they're doing very well in business in Nigeria. So you must know what you want and know what you need to learn to arrive at where you're going to. Not everybody will take that path. I can't tell you if you've never worked before, you can't start a company that would be a unicorn very soon. No, I can't tell you. I don't know what's inside you. You get it. I can only talk from what and where I am as a person. You get it. So, for example, you discover that the likes of, Microsoft also, like a genius level person, the founder, not everybody is at that level. You must know yourself and know if you need experience, go work, get experience, get understanding, and you may now figure out what you need to be along the line. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also said something about compensation theory. Would you say people with computer science background tend to excel more in tech fields?
competition theory can be faulted. However, I have seen people that never studied a computer-related course do very well in IT because they felt no one will consider me for an IT job because I don't have a degree in that direction. So in the past, companies like GE in the past would not hire you if you don't have computer science or electrical electronics as your first degree. I think they still do it in GE, but you see more dynamic organizations like Microsoft and others don't really care what you studied as your first degree. They care about your work experience. They care about what you can do. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So, for example, I could give you an example of a colleague I once worked together with. Joshua is in African Development Bank today as the chief network engineer. He studied biochemistry from OAU. But on entering the IT space, he differentiated himself by passing his Cisco certification, associate level, professional level, and expert level. And he got jobs with system integrators that gave him opportunity to deploy solutions for all the banks in Nigeria and top government organizations. And from there, he got a job in EcoBank, became chief network engineer, moved on to African Development Bank as chief network engineer in Abidjan. So there are so many other people like that. So like I said earlier on, if tech does not, maybe you didn't study computer science or electrical electronics, which I didn't study, and you want to enter into the tech space, find out what's needed in your target organizations. If it's just the skill, or they need the degree, or they need certifications, get it to present yourself as someone that they can try out. No organization wants a rookie completely. You must be trainable. Before anyone hires you, he must have considered you trainable for what he wants to use you for. Then he can give you an opportunity to scale your knowledge.
Okay, thank you. That's all. So you can. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Questions here in the chat section. The first one here is from Obey de Osumekon. So he's asking, what does a production environment entail? Like, what do you set up from a cloud perspective? And I guess the question is for Adora.
I'm sorry, but I can't answer that question because that is not a valid question. I mean, if you are building, is that telling me, oh, what does an application entail? Right? Like it's a vague question because depending on the kind of app you are building, whatever resources would be in your environment would differ. So I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know what you should set up in production. Set up everything or set up nothing. It depends.
All right. Another question from the same person. He's asking, since your direction was cloud, why did you start from learning software development, or you switched to cloud from software development?
Initially, when I was introducing myself, I said I was a cloud engineer, and it entails many things, which include writing code. So, and I think people have this misconception that when you say cloud, you mean DevOps. That is very false, and not in any way true. Yeah. So, cloud just means you are building technology on the cloud. However it is you are doing it is what now defines your specialization. So somebody would call themselves a cloud engineer, but they will still be writing a lot of code. It's just that that code is code for an application that is deployed and exists on the cloud that a bunch of people, or rather is code for a cloud service, like an SDK, a service imagine I'm a software engineer and I'm working on Firebase. Firebase is a cloud service. I am a cloud engineer because I am writing code that makes Firebase what Firebase is. So being a cloud engineer doesn't mean that you are not a software dev. A software dev is writing JavaScript. A cloud engineer will probably write JavaScript. Code is code. Language is anything. So I did not switch from cloud to software dev or software dev to cloud. Skills are transferable, and you just transfer the skills to the next, to the next field that you're trying to go into.
All right, thank you for that. Another question from Patrick Udo. He's asking, how do I start a career in networking? For Adora.
Fortunately, I don't have a career in networking, so I cannot answer that question. However, find people that have careers in networking, look at their blueprints, and maybe try to follow it. Join a community that they're doing a bunch of networking things, if that's your thing. Read books on how to start a career in networking. Develop yourself for that kind of thing. Make use of the internet as well. Reach out to people that you know are doing these things and ask them how they did it, how they're doing it. Find mentors in the networking space. Follow this whole presentation I just gave. Follow this presentation. Use networking as the career you are trying to start. Do research, do that one, crawl, walk, run, do all of that stuff, but do it in the context of networking. I can't give you direct answers because there's no direct answer. You as a person will define what works for you.
Hello, let me give a quick talk on networking. I started, networking was my entry level into IT space, and I started networking, then studying to write a CCNA examination at that time, and at that time, the parts were few, was just routing and switching, voice, and a few other tracks. But today, there are a whole lot of tracks, that include enterprise, data center, and all those service-oriented architecture and all of that. So if you're interested in networking, CCNA is still like standard. In fact, some schools take CCNA in masters when you go for electrical electronics or in masters in some countries in the US. They have Cisco curriculum as part of the curriculum for masters. So for networking, you may consider CompTIA or Cisco technologies as your starting point, and from there, take trainings. Like Adora said, do your research on how you want to get trained, on how you want to learn. A whole lot of material online. Get someone that's gone in that field, and start from where you are, and like Adora said, tailor your CV to look like that. At least make an attempt to write at least 1 or 2 certifications in that direction. Then companies can consider you for a networking role that will give you more exposure. For example, the first job I applied for, I applied as a senior network engineer. I went for the interview, and the person told me, you don't even qualify to be a junior network engineer. But I had CCNA at that time, and I'd gone through academy. I knew a few stuff, and the person gave me an opportunity. I started working, but told me upfront that you don't qualify for a senior network engineer. I said I knew I needed attention. This was my first job, and I needed someone to even give me an offer, and that was how I started as a network engineer. So you need a foundation, and don't forget, Adora has mentioned so many SREs, DevOps, and all of that. You will need networking skill to navigate some of these technologies. Even on AWS, you will need to understand your IP addressing to navigate on AWS. However, Nigerian companies, may give you lots of roles to do, or if you work with a foreign organization, then they streamline what they expect from you. So Nigerian environment gives you an opportunity to be a high flyer anywhere in the world, because they may overwork you by giving you too many roles. So it's in Nigeria that you see a company wants a developer that can write Python, write Java, write Ruby on Rails, write everything. that's Nigeria environment for you. But when you begin to work in a specialized environment as you, go higher in the industry, you may not be required to do all of that. But it's good for your foundation, So networking is a solid foundation if you are interested, and Cisco technology remains a reference point. There are other technologies, but Cisco remains a reference point because it gives you the foundation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir, for that. Another question. So Patrick wants to know what stack is in use at Microsoft for backend? Question is for Adora.
Microsoft is a corporation. What this means is that Microsoft has a ton of sub-organizations under them that have sub-teams, that have sub-fire teams that do different things. Microsoft recently hired the person that created Python. He's working there. People are building Python stuff with Microsoft tools. You can use Python in Visual Studio. You can do a bunch of things. As a Microsoft engineer, I've never written Python in my life. Some people in Microsoft do a bunch of things with JavaScript. They are JavaScript cloud advocates, how to make JavaScript better in the cloud, blah, 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 blah. I've never written JavaScript since I joined Microsoft. Yeah, I've written TypeScript, but not JavaScript. Donna Saka was recently leading advocacy for .NET and Java, I think, something like that, sub-leading anyway. It wasn't her primary role. And I don't work with Java on my team. The point I'm making is Microsoft does not use any stack. And Microsoft uses every stack, if that makes sense. Like, these are not direct questions that I can give direct answers to because it depends on the team that you join. I work in mixed reality. I have been working in mixed reality since I joined Microsoft. I do a bunch of things with C#. I write C# a lot. I write TypeScript sometimes. I do a bunch of things with PowerShell. And then I use the regular things. Database is Cosmos DB, all the regular things because I'm building in Azure. But my primary language is mostly C#, and I write some C++ as well. But that's about it. But I mean, even in the same Microsoft, some people are writing Go, some people are writing Python, JavaScript, Java, TypeScript, different things. So it doesn't matter. And the stacks as well in terms of, I'm writing this language with this. Okay, so men, mean, lamp, all these things, .NET. I'm a .NET girl. There's some people in Microsoft that are mean people. My friend posted a tweet yesterday, tweeted for a team that is hiring in Vancouver and Texas, and they're writing React, and they're in Microsoft. So it really just depends on the team you want to join. If you go to the careers page in Microsoft and you check the kinds of teams you want to join and the technology they are building, that technology they are building would now influence the stack that they use, and that would influence the kind of technologies you would work with if you want to join them today.
All right, thank you. So the third question from Patrick is asking any suggestions to junior and entry-level developers on how to keep themselves motivated through the learning process.
I know that it's actually hard a lot of times. I would say, remember the end goal, why you started it. Also, all those 23x, 15x, 250x things are very valid motivations for you, right? So it shouldn't be something that you should see and should put you down. It should be something that you should see and you'd be like, yes, I feel like in 3 years, I can also be this person. And that will motivate you to keep learning because you know that one day, somehow, someday, you will get to that point. And also surround yourself with positive people that can help you grow. Surround yourself with positive people that can help you grow. That actually really goes a long way as well. Wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Obafin Amy.
It's just
So
me.
he's saying most of these fields in tech are into one tech field before.
I can't really hear you. You're breaking.
Okay, you're breaking.
Hello? So I didn't get that.
I think you're breaking.
How about now?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay. So this question is from Obafemi. He wants to know if you need to know if you need to have a foundation of one tech field before moving.
Please, can you type the
To
question
the
in
part you want.
and I can read it and answer it because I can't hear Michael. Michael keeps breaking. So if it's possible, can the person that asked this question or anybody else that knows this question type it in the chat?
Okay, let me read it. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Adam is asking if most of these fields in tech are interwoven. Do you need to know a foundation of one tech field before moving to the part you want?
If a bunch of things are interwoven, but a bunch of things are very different. And that's why I started with learn the foundation for foundation of computer science. I'm not saying take a computer science degree. There's a Harvard computer science course that you can literally take in days. To just find that course, take it. It would help you understand how computers work, basic things in computing, basic networking, basic data structures, algorithms. It just help you tailor your mind to that, technical computer person. Because I mean, front end and back end are two very different things, even if they are interwoven. So if you've learned the foundation of front end, that doesn't automatically make you a full stack engineer if you don't properly learn how to be a back-end engineer so that you can combine the two, if that makes sense. So learning the foundations of computer science first, and then go learn the foundations of whatever it is you have to do. If you want to go do something else, like I was writing a lot of code, right? And then more recently, I have been doing a bunch of DevOps and SRE things. But I still had to go and do some foundational DevOps things, even if I was writing a lot of code on the back end. Even if there are some things that are interwoven, because when I'm writing code, I know that yes, there's this event grid somewhere, so I have to listen for this event. And as an infra person, you are the one creating the infrastructure that actually does the events thing in the first place, right? So you're the one creating the event hub or the event grid that publishes the event or that listens, and then the engineer is the one writing the code that does that action. So I had an idea of these infrastructures and all these kinds of things as well, even if I hadn't worked with it. But I mean, I still had to go learn the basic things to do infrastructure engineering properly before I started doing it. So when I mean foundation, I mean foundational computer science first. And if you're going to pick up any technology, you should definitely learn the foundations of that too, even if skills are transferable. The fact that skills are transferable doesn't mean that that is the only thing that that skill entails. It just means that you would probably have it easier than someone else that was trying to learn it from scratch. I don't know if anybody heard what I said, but I'm done answering that question.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me? Am I on? Or am I still breaking?
I can hear you.
You're clear now.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if any other person. Any more questions from the audience? One question for Mr. Shola, switching to tech. You made mention of the age factor. So I want to know if that percentage of people who are trying to acquire skills like some tech skills, if how that is going to affect them in the long run, or like it's not really favorable to them. So I'm thinking, or I want to ask, how do you think that would look like in the future? Would it remain the same, or would they see that these people actually they possess the skills that we need, and there's no harm in giving them a try?
Okay, so um, for age and gender, those two can always form some form of discrimination, whether written or unwritten, you know. However, for the gender, it can be a major advantage for a lady in tech, you know. It can be a major advantage. And just like Adora said, you know, the fact that you're in tech does not mean you will be coding. There are so many other fields in tech. For example, I'm a sales person in tech. However, you know, every technology that Adora deals with, we sell. You know, so for example, you know, when you talk about cloud, you know, you need to understand private, public cloud, and all this conversation will come up in sales. You know, and the biggest and most effective salespeople are people that understand the techie words and how to use them properly. So age is age in Nigeria. That's discrimination of age is a reality in Nigeria. Because Access Bank is they keep recruiting from year, you know, and you see it there, 24 years and below, you know, and it's people from the graduate trainee that they will eventually post to tech entry. However, they take in tech experience as well, you know. So age could be a barrier because, for example, don't forget, Adora talked about having a plan, you know, crawling, walking, and running, you know. So when you have gotten into a season in life when your finances mean a lot to you, you know, you may not be patient enough, you know, before you now think of walking, running, then flying, you know, because then you already have financial pressure. But for young people, I mean, that's the best time to take decisions on career, you know, when you don't have financial pressure, when you don't have a direct family, when you don't have much dependence. If by chance you don't have dependence, you know. So for example, what I would do 15 years ago is different from what I would do now on different matters, you know, because at the point I didn't have dependence. You know, if I needed to do 5 years, you know, just lost learning something to become a guru in it, you know, I was willing to do that a long time ago. I may not be able to do that now. You get it? So as you get, those decisions are better taken earlier. However, like I mentioned, if you are the type that is also considering being a global workforce beyond Nigeria, maybe working for foreign organizations or even relocating, you know, there is less discrimination on age, you know, for some of these countries because they have shortage of skill and shortage of resource. You get it? Nigeria, the case may not be that, you know, exactly that way. There's a bit of gloat in Nigeria, you know, of having too many people ready for a particular job. But if it's you know, coding related job and all of that, sometimes they may not care what your age is because you may even be working remotely. You may not even show up in the office. There may be no office actually, you know, like the Andela resource and most of them work. So I mean, you know, it may not be much of an issue. But I would advise people that are going to take that decision early. I took my decision very early. I took my decision in school before even going for service, you know, to write CCN. In fact, I requested for a system then, which I didn't have one of mine. And my dad said, we've just finished training you in school. Come home before we start thinking of a PC for you, you know, and all of that. So that's taking a decision early. So it's better you take a decision early. However, last Adora has said, it is never too late, you know, to switch because the switch is not a total switch in some cases, you know. So most of the salespeople we even have in tech, some of them have computer science as their degree, actually, you know. Some of them read nothing connected to computer science, but they have to do a lot of catching up. So like I'll tell you, for example, you can even be a sales, like Microsoft, Cisco, all of these technologies, they have sales training on their portals. You get it. However, it may be limited to partners. So if you're not a partner, you may not have access. They have sales training, they have project managers training, they have product managers training, because they recognize all these roles, and all these roles don't require actual coding. So it's never too late to switch when you have an opportunity or interest. There's always a way to switch. However, for core competence, maybe as a full stack engineer or stuff like that, core programming, it's better done early. Better done early. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. So, permit me to share my screen.
You can't hear you like that. Core programming, it's better done early.
Can you hear me now?
Better done early. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. So, everyone can answer. So, am I on? Permit me to share my screen.
You can't hear you like that. Core programming, it's better done early.
Can you hear me now?
Better done early. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. So, everyone can answer. So, am I on? Permit me to share my screen.
You can't hear you like that. Core programming, better done early.
Can you hear me now?
Better done early. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. So, everyone can answer. So, am I
Can you
on?
hear me?
Permit me to share my screen.
You can't hear you like that. Core programming, better done early.
Can you hear me now?
Better done early. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. So, everyone can answer. So, am I
Can you
on?
hear me?
Permit me to share my screen.
You can't hear you like that. Core programming, better done early.
Can you hear me now?
Better done early. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. So, everyone can answer. So, am I
Can you
on?
hear me?
Permit me to share my screen.
You can't hear you like that. Core programming, better done early.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? I think Mike is having network issues.
Yes, you can.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
I'm going to share my screen for the presentation that Michael wanted. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to talk about Bincom Dev Center. And Bincom Dev Center is the host for today's event. And we have this event every last Saturday of every month. And talking about Bincom Dev Center is a multi-location technology talent development and solutions center. And we have locations virtually near you. We have locations also physically in Lagos, Oyo, Kano, Kaduna, Ogun State, Delta, and we plan to expand to more locations. You can find out more info about this in the website blog.bincom.net/campuses. And some of the services offered by Bincom Dev Center is the Bincom Academy, the Bincom Tech Internship, the Bincom Tech Apprenticeship, the Bincom Community Events and Projects, the Light Space, the Bincom Global Tech Program, Emigrate, the Bincom Mentoring Platform, Labs by Bincom. So drilling down into some of these services, the first one is the Bincom Academy, which is an intensive training program that lasts for 4 weeks. And this period, the participant is taken through the training of our curriculum through a Montessori approach, and the classes available are shown on your screen. I would like to confirm if everybody can see the flyer on the screen. Hello. Can you guys see my screen?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, yes. So for more info about this classes, you can visit the website bincom.net/academy. And the next one is called the next service we offer is called Light Space, the co-working space for your meetings, for your events, for your guest rooms. And we have locations in Lagos, Oyo, Kano, Kaduna, Ogun State, and Delta. And we plan to have more locations. You can find out more info about this in the website down below the screen. And then the next one is the Bincom Community Events and Projects, which is geared at giving back to the community. And the events are divided into 5. We have the master classes, we have the meetups, we have the idea sharing, which an example of that is this career talk that is happening now, which happens every last Saturday of every month. And some of our other initiatives includes the Bincom Tech Network and the Bincom Tech Club. And these are examples of some of the events that we have on a weekly, monthly basis. And we also have the Bincom Global Tech Program, which gives interested parties the opportunity to learn skills, gain experience, and gain exposure. And you also have the opportunity to learn now and pay later. It costs about 1.2 million naira, but this can be done instrumentally through an income sharing agreement. So there's a video about the pay that explains more about the Global Tech Program.
What are the things you need for this program? All you need is your laptop device, a hunger and a passion for IT. Those are the core tools that you need. The total cost of the Bincom Global Tech Program for the period of 1 to 2 years is just 1.2 million naira. But you don't need to worry about that because it gets better. We have various financing options to help you cover the cost of the program. So you don't need to have any money to even apply or be admitted to the program. One of the financing options that are available for this program is the income sharing agreement. What that simply means is that the company will sponsor your learning. So you will learn for the period of 1 to 2 years and you only start paying back when you get a job and you start earning your income after this program. This means that aside from skills, experience, and exposure, the company is also willing to invest its own money on you. That's a total package. What are you waiting for? You need to go on our website, bincom.net/globaltech. You need to register and then launch your global tech career. I'm sure that the tech world, the tech industry is waiting for a great talent like you. Thank you.
Okay, that was trying to explain about the Global Tech Program. If you're interested or you know someone who might be interested, you can refer them to the link bincom.net.
What are the things you need for this program? All you need is your laptop device, a hunger.
Then the next service we offer is called the Emigrate Program, which provides tech visa opportunities for people in tech, either in the technical side of tech or in the business side of tech. It gives you the opportunity to live and work in countries like UK, USA, Canada, and France. And these are some of the services covered by the Emigrate Program. We have the general inquiry, the coaching, the preliminary assessment, the self-directed roadmap to a globally attractive program. And so to find out more about this Emigrate service, you can click on our website, bincom.net/emigrate, and it's find out more. And we also have the Emigrate Open Day, which happens 2 Wednesdays in a month, which is the first and the third Wednesdays. And there are also recordings of the past editions if you are also interested. So we also have another service, which is the Labs by Bincom, which is a 3 to 6 months program to bring people from different tracks together to build and launch their own startup from scratch. And then we have the Bincom Dev Center Ambassador campaign, which is a partnership with My Cycle, and this enables you to earn 10% from any of our service you refer someone to. Like, for example, if you refer someone to the Global Tech program, you have the opportunity to earn 10% of the fee being paid, which is 120,000 naira. So if you have any more questions about any of this service, you can reach out to us on the contact details on your screen. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you to the speakers for sharing. It has been an interesting and insightful one. We hope to see you guys next month, same time, same venue.